To help animals, people must first understand them because traditional methods are too simple and usually fail. Scientists create a new technology called hoppers to find a better solution. This lets humans hop into the minds of realistic robotic animals to experience the world from their perspective, so they can control nature. Mabel is a little girl with a huge love for animals. She sneaks away to rescue pets during study hours because she firmly believes they deserve freedom. Her heavy backpack eventually catches the attention of adults. Mabel tries to run away from teachers to avoid getting caught. She accidentally releases animals and triggers the fire system during her escape, which turns the whole school into a water park. This mess makes her mother furious and sends Mabel to live with her grandmother, who is an old forest ranger managing a small forest outside Beaverton. Her grandmother does not scold her at all. Instead, she comforts Mabel and takes her to the nearby forest for healing. Grandma shares her own past and teaches Mabel how to listen and understand instead of acting on impulse. A completely different world appears before Mabel when she finally calms down. She hears wind blowing and birds singing in the trees while watching deer move in the distance. That moment slows down her soul. She starts learning to love nature through true understanding instead of raw emotions. The forest gradually becomes Mabel's second home. The two of them care for this special place together by planting trees and cleaning trash. Mabel decides to stay with her grandmother when her parents move away. Her grandmother wants someone to look after this place before she passes away. So Mabel agrees because thousands of creatures will lose their home if this forest disappears. Mabel nods quietly and keeps that promise for many years. Little Mabel is now a university student. She runs like the wind toward the forest while people walk slowly to school. She quickly climbs over a construction fence where workers prepare to replace the glade with a freeway. "Stop!" yells Mabel as she runs out to stand right in front of the explosives. She ignores danger warnings and tries to remove the detonator herself, which shocks the workers. Mayor Jerry appears next and starts an argument. Because neither side backs down, this is not their first fight. Since Mabel always appears wherever Mayor Jerry goes, from press conferences to front doors, Mayor Jerry claims no animals live in the forest anymore. While Mabel keeps insisting the ecosystem still exists, everyone at the construction site feels annoyed by her crazy behavior. Mayor Jerry calls the police when Mabel refuses to leave and gives her 48 hours to collect petition signatures to stop the project. Mayor Jerry blows up the dam right after speaking to challenge Mabel. Mabel has no time to waste, so she starts working immediately. She knocks on every door for signatures, but people only ignore her. Mabel even visits an old man's house to clean and persuade him until night falls. Mabel thinks she gets a signature after the old man writes on a piece of paper, without knowing he just writes a grocery list. Mabel returns home exhausted and disappointed after a long day. While eating dinner, she rewatches Mayor Jerry's interview, which contains extremely deceptive statements. He claims that the freeway is built in an area that no longer houses any animals, making construction completely legitimate. Hearing this, Mabel finds a loophole that Mayor Jerry uses to build the freeway in Beaverton. The next day, she seeks help from Dr. Sam, who is a lecturer at Beaverton University, where Mabel enrolls but constantly skips classes. After class, Dr. Sam earnestly advises Mabel to give up to save her future, while claiming that no creatures remain in the forest since the beavers leave. This exact statement makes Mabel realize that beavers are the core animal and the key to restoring the ecosystem. Without beavers, the forest will wither, because all it takes is a single beaver dam to block the stream and fill the lake with other animals. Hearing this excites Mabel about the idea, and she wants to find a beaver to save the situation. She quickly sets up food and plays sounds to lure beavers, but from morning till night not a single one comes. Witnessing this makes Mabel feel extremely discouraged. Just as she almost gives up, a rustling sound suddenly rings out and her patient waiting is finally rewarded. A beaver appears and quickly sniffs the food before looking disdainful and walking away. Mabel tries to chase the beaver when a truck suddenly rushes over to catch it and drives straight toward Beaverton University. Not giving up, Mabel chases after it and secretly follows the beaver until something even harder to believe than flying cows happens, because the beaver walks on two legs and swipes a card to enter the laboratory. The deeper Mabel investigates, the more secrets she discovers. Since the beaver she follows actually carries Dr. Sam's consciousness, because the technology Dr. Sam uses is extremely advanced, it must never fall into the wrong hands. While Dr. Sam and his assistant Nisha talk, Mabel unexpectedly interrupts. Assistant Nisha intends to use a stun gun to silence her, but Dr. Sam stops her. Having no other choice, Assistant Nisha has to explain that it is all robots and this top-secret project is called Hoppers. This is a technology project that transfers human consciousness into robotic animal bodies for research. Hearing about this project gives Mabel a crazy idea. She seizes the moment when Dr. Sam and assistant Nisha lower their guard to grab the connection helmet and directly transmit her own consciousness into the robotic Beaver's body. As soon as the process finishes, everything around Mabel changes completely. Dr. Sam and assistant Nisha cannot let this happen, so they try to catch Mabel. Mabel has no other choice than to run away, while Dr. Sam uses the built-in tracking in the Beaver's body to guide assistant Nisha. As a result, while Mabel and assistant Nisha fight over a broom, Mabel gets tossed high up into the air. Dr. Sam repeatedly urges Mabel to come back, but Mabel refuses to listen. While covering her ears, she accidentally turns off the tracking system. The chaotic chase finally ends, and just as Mabel successfully shakes off, her pursuer, an owl, snatches her. She struggles constantly in the air, so the owl loses focus and drops her. Mabel falls freely down into the forest and only wakes up when morning arrives. Now Mabel realizes that she can understand the language of all animals, and this discovery makes her unable to hide her excitement. Next, Mabel asks a squirrel for directions to find the beavers. The squirrel looks bewildered and replies that she is the beaver herself. Even when Mabel kindly asks other animals about the beaver colony location, she only receives indifference. Just as Mabel feels desperate, a kind spider shows her the way by telling her to just follow the stream to find the beavers. Mabel follows the spider's guidance and truly finds a beaver, but it wears an extremely dejected expression. Mabel tries her best to talk to it, but the beaver keeps the exact same expression and walks away. Just then a bear appears and charges straight at Loaf. Seeing the strong bullying the weak, Mabel stands up and she quickly bares her fangs and claws in front of Ellen to force it to release Loaf. Finally, Mabel rescues Loaf, unaware that she has just broken the natural order of the place. Loaf and Ellen are both confused because she interferes with the rules of the lake. Because Mabel has broken the lake's rules, she has to go to see the king of the forest to receive her punishment. Meanwhile, Dr. Sam and assistant Nisha are racking their brains to figure out how to bring Mabel back when they suddenly hear Mabel's voice. It turns out that Mabel has turned her GPS back on to tell them about her current situation. Dr. Sam and assistant Nisha quickly worry about Mabel because she goes too far beyond what both of them predict. Dr. Sam repeatedly emphasizes to Mabel that they must not disrupt the natural order. But through Mabel's camera, Dr. Sam and the assistant are stunned to see that the king of the forest is a beaver wearing a crown. Not only that, King George is also dancing cheerfully in the middle of the forest with all animals, which makes the other people wide-eyed and open-mouthed. Realizing there is a new member, King George quickly asks after her, ignoring Dr. Sam's words. Mabel turns off her GPS and next she introduces herself and is welcomed by King George. Loaf immediately accuses Mabel because she breaks the lake's rules by preventing Ellen from eating it. Seeing that Mabel understands nothing, King George not only does not scold her but also happily popularizes the rules of the forest for her to know. The first rule is not to treat others as strangers, because it is really hard to be angry with someone if one knows their name. King George remembers the names of all animals living here, from every single bird to every single ant. The second rule is to just eat when needing to eat. The last rule is that everyone lives in the same house, so they must look after any species that needs help. Whenever any animal loses its habitat, King George welcomes them here, turning the forest into a common home for all kinds of species. According to King George, this rule applies to beavers, Ellen, fish, and even humans. Hearing this, Mabel immediately objects because humans do not think that way, and they only want to seize everything. But George still believes that goodness exists deep inside every human. Having no other choice, Mabel shows the Beaver King the dried-up lake, hoping he will bring the beaver colony back, but everyone refuses because the place is currently too noisy. They left long ago and never want to return. To make Mabel understand more clearly, all animals lead her to the place emitting that sound which only animals can hear. King George is talking normally when the next second he falls into a state of severe deafness. With her robotic body, Mabel hears nothing at all, so she has to use King George as a detector. Now she realizes the culprits are the artificial sound-emitting trees erected by Mayor Jerry. Ignoring King George's warnings about the fact that she can harm her own little ears, Mabel heads straight for the tree. The animals are quickly surprised because this is the first time they see a beaver that can climb trees. Just as Mabel is about to climb to the top of the tree, Assistant Connor interrupts. The second assistant of Dr. Sam wants to retrieve this robotic body as fast as possible. But Mabel turns a deaf ear to everything and only wants to focus on destroying the fake tree. Having no other way, Assistant Connor has to resort to strong measures. The two of them are struggling while the animals mistakenly think they are helping each other. Taking advantage of the moment when Assistant Connor is not paying attention, Mabel uses her tail to knock him away, but she does not expect that this very action indirectly helps the fake tree fall down, directly turning her into a female hero in the eyes of the animals. King George seizes the opportunity to rally the animals to rebuild their home. And for the beavers, working is just like throwing a party. Each individual takes on a different task, ranging from chopping wood and mixing mud to building earth. From afar it looks like a simple dam, but inside it is a meticulously planned structure. In just one afternoon the dam is completed, restoring the entire ecosystem. Perhaps the film wants to remind us that nature also has its own order and intelligence. It is just that humans have never bothered to see it that way. Meanwhile, Mayor Jerry is talking to a business partner when he suddenly receives a call reporting that the beavers have returned, and upon hearing this he immediately dispatches a team to the scene. By then it is dark and King George suddenly discovers that Mabel does not know how to swim, so he quickly shows her that she just needs to relax her legs, kicking with her hind legs and propelling herself with her front legs. Only then does King George realize that Mabel's parents have never taught her how to swim. As a result, Mabel and King George share something in common, because King George's parents both thought he was unfit to inherit the throne, and he was even exiled, while his father tried to start a new family. His uncle attempted to usurp the throne, resulting in a power struggle, and suddenly they sought out King George, wanting him to become king, so he agreed. Unlike his father, who was always suspicious of others, King George believes that everyone has a good side. Mabel wants to argue back by saying that humans erected the fake tree, but King George continues by saying that he trusts Mabel because Mabel is also a human, and this makes Mabel think a lot. Next, King George offers Mabel the position of the king's right hand, serving as an advisor, a companion, and also a future successor since he has no children. Just as Mabel is about to confess that she is actually a disguised human, a loud explosion rings out and a beaver quickly informs them both about the fact that the dam has been destroyed once more, because humans have brought more sound-emitting trees, causing the entire forest to flee. Mabel does not need to think to know for sure that the person behind this is none other than Mayor Jerry, and seeing the animals leaving their homes, Mabel wants to stand up and resist. Knowing they will need the Animal Council to help, King George appears apprehensive because the Animal Council is too strict. To participate in that meeting, Mabel is forced to become the right-hand woman of the king. After a few seconds of hesitation, she accepts the offer, which makes King George extremely overjoyed. Next, he announces to the animals that Mabel has become the right-hand woman of the king, and after that the meeting of the Animal Council is held, but King George is as tense as a tightrope string. He says that he is only the king of mammals and out there exist countless kings of other species. As soon as King George finishes speaking, the representatives of other animal species appear one after another. From the sky the bird king descends with a very grumpy face, from the water the fish king emerges, from the mud the amphibian king arrives. The reptiles also send the reptile queens, and finally the insect queen appears together with the insect prince. The council has gathered all its members, and the meeting officially begins. Dr. Sam and his two assistants witness the scene before their eyes and are completely frozen in shock. They cannot believe that animals have their own separate political system. Meanwhile, the meeting is taking place, and contrary to Mabel's expectations, this council does not care at all about the problems of mammals. According to them, humans fall within King George's scope. His subjects should be handled by himself, and calling the whole council just for that matter is truly a waste of time. Hearing this, Mabel gets furious, points directly at everyone's faces, and says that this is no longer just the affair of mammals. Because if Mayor Jerry takes land from this species today to build a road, tomorrow he might take land from other species too, leading to every forest and every river disappearing one by one. Hearing this, the insect queen knits her brows and asks who Mayor Jerry is, and Mabel replies succinctly that he is the king of humans. The entire council immediately grows restless at this information. What does this mean? A human king dares to encroach upon our territory, using her persuasive skills. Mabel continues to pour oil on the fire. Do you think Mayor Jerry manages to do this naturally? No, it is precisely because you chose to remain silent that he pushes further and further. And every year human land grows larger while your land grows smaller. This is a short speech, but its damage is extremely high. Initially the council just sits and listens for fun. But the very next second the entire council shifts to a bloodthirsty state, and the insect queen declares that it is time to crush the king of humans. The one who has been the most boisterous, Mabel, is now the first to panic. and she hastily explains that her intention is merely to send troops to intimidate Mayor Jerry and warn him to stay away, not to start a war. But it is too late because once the wheels of war have started rolling, it is impossible to stop them. At this point, Mabel realizes she has taken things too far. Only King George stands up against the violence, while the Butterfly Queen relentlessly pressures Mabel, causing her to accidentally crush the Butterfly Queen to death. The council witnesses this scene and seems utterly stunned, and the Butterfly Queen's senseless death acts like a lit fire that fuels the council to pursue Mabel and King George. Assistant Nisha quickly appears to take Mabel to safety but is unexpectedly eliminated. Next it is Assistant Connor's turn, but Mabel does not want to abandon King George, so she wants him to save King George as well, although reluctant Assistant Connor still lands to take King George with him. And as a result, in a moment of carelessness, he is easily defeated by the Bird King. While Mabel and George fall downwards due to inertia, seeing King George about to be swallowed by a snake, Mabel jumps down to save him. But danger still lies ahead, so Mabel has no choice but to take a risk and pull King George down into the abyss with her. Meanwhile, at the laboratory, Dr. Sam has lost contact with Mabel, whose survival indicators are rising higher than normal. On the other hand, Titus has been succeeded after the death of the Insect Queen, and the Insect King does not take long to issue his first order that Mayor Jerry will have to pay for what he has done. At the same time, Mabel and King George drift to the edge of a shore, and for the first time King George shows disappointment toward Mabel. He does not blame her for the death of the Insect Queen, but rather because things have now spiraled out of control, and a war that should never have happened is about to erupt. Mabel is not much better off either, because she only wants to protect the forest, but the more she tries, the worse the consequences become. Everything seems to be falling apart right before her eyes, and Mabel blames herself for not being able to make any difference, even making things worse, as she is too tired of doing this alone. Seeing Mabel collapse, King George does not say any more reproachful words. According to him, faith is like a beaver's dam, which may crack or break at one corner, but as long as there is still a will to repair it, it can still be rebuilt. King George's words help Mabel regain her spirits. This time the goal of both of them is no longer just to keep the forest, but also to prevent the council from harming Mayor Jerry. Meanwhile, the protagonist of the revenge plot still has no idea what is happening, as Mayor Jerry eats breakfast, adjusts his hair, and prepares to drive to the construction site like every other day. But as soon as Mayor Jerry opens the car door, he is startled to see Loaf sitting right in the passenger seat. Taking advantage of the moment when Mayor Jerry is panicking, Loaf takes the phone and gives it to Mabel, and through the phone Mabel is able to communicate with Mayor Jerry. She immediately sends a request to temporarily pause the project to ensure his safety, but before Mayor Jerry can even react, a flock of seagulls suddenly competes to defecate on the windshield. In a panic, he steps on the gas to run away, and along the way the animals shift their attention to Mayor Jerry's phone, directly creating an opportunity for him to open the window and push everyone out of the car. As a result, King George and Loaf are thrown out, but Ellen appears just in time. While inside the car, Mabel is still struggling with Mayor Jerry. Suddenly another car rushes up and says Mabel must stop, and although Dr. Sam exhausts all words to dissuade her, Mabel remains resolute in her actions. Suddenly the flock of seagulls behind them unanimously plunges into the sea, and a few seconds later they pull up an entire shark. Mayor Jerry never expects that after reading an article that morning about sharks being able to fly. It has now become a reality. This shark bites off the entire roof of the car in a single snap. And just as Mabel wants to save Mayor Jerry, Dr. Sam returns. Seeing the translation headset that Dr. Sam used gives Mabel an idea, and she quickly jumps over to Dr. Sam's car to snatch the translation headset and give it to Mayor Jerry. However, before she can put it on him, the shark returns and forces the other animals to act immediately. During the struggle between the two sides, Mabel has the opportunity to give the translation headset to Mayor Jerry, and being able to hear and understand what the animals are saying for the first time makes him unable to accept it at all. Mayor Jerry thinks it is all just a dream, so he lets go of the steering wheel, which directly makes the situation worse because the animals in the back can no longer hold onto the shark. Luckily, Mabel swerves in time to save Mayor Jerry's life, and seeing that the car is about to plunge straight into the water, Mabel swerves the wheel once more. Although the wheels are misaligned, at least everyone's lives are preserved. Mayor Jerry crawls out of the car and emotionally hugs Mabel for saving his life, and taking advantage of that moment, Mabel asks him to cancel the project, but he stubbornly refuses. This infuriates Mabel and causes her to reveal Mayor Jerry's location, declaring that he will pay a heavy price. and as soon as she finishes speaking, she gets captured by assistant Connor. Although Mabel tries to escape, Mayor Jerry catches her again, and next her consciousness is transferred back to her real body. King George sees Mabel's beaver body lying motionless and thinks she has been harmed by humans, but upon touching it, he discovers it is only a robotic shell. While Mabel's mind is still unstable, the reptiles take action and capture everyone, and when she wakes up, she only sees herself and Mayor Jerry tied up tightly, while Dr. Sam and assistant Nisha are restrained. Mabel only sees Dr. Sam and assistant Nisha finish measuring Mayor Jerry's face before they leave, and then a horrifying scene unfolds that Mabel can never forget. Titus has molted and become the Insect King. But his ambition does not stop there, because he also transfers his consciousness into Mayor Jerry's physical body. Because this is the first time Titus possesses a human body, his steps are extremely weak, and not only that, but he also hates how humans dress. So he adjusts his clothes to suit himself. Things do not stop there, as Titus also discovers that the sound-emitting trees can adjust their frequencies to attack humans as well, and his goal is to activate them right during the inauguration ceremony to wipe out humanity. Mabel tries to reconcile everything, but Titus immediately pours a bucket of cold water on her face, saying that every single human is exactly the same, stealing, lying, and exploiting others. Titus even intentionally tells King George the whole truth to ruin Mabel's relationship with him, and when all the animals leave, Mabel falls into deep contemplation because she lied to and exploited King George. At the moment when Mabel is most desperate, the image of her grandmother suddenly returns, helping her regain her calm and realize that if she wants to end everything, the only way is to cooperate with Mayor Jerry. Although they argue at first, they do not have much time left. So he has no choice but to follow Mabel's advice and stick his head into the machine. Mayor Jerry's consciousness quickly transfers into the beaver's body to untie Mabel, and next Mabel states her plan, which is that both of them will give Titus a chance to do the right thing. Mayor Jerry asks why, and Mabel explains that everyone has a good side deep inside their heart. Meanwhile, the inauguration ceremony takes place, and everyone is excited about the appearance of Mayor Jerry, but they do not know that the person in front of them is an imposter. Titus quickly asks the crowd if anyone has ever stepped on an insect, and a series of hands immediately go up, making him believe that humanity does not deserve to be forgiven. Just as Titus is about to activate the system, Mabel suddenly appears and she sincerely apologizes to Titus for the death of his mother, earnestly hoping that humans and all animals can live together under one roof. But Titus shows no sign of changing, because his nature is inherently evil from the start. Mabel has already anticipated this situation, so her stalling is just to let the real Mayor Jerry go and rescue the others. The forces of justice quickly run wires from the machine to Titus's location to bring his consciousness back to his old body. Although King George tries hard to stop Titus, the other animals take his side, and Mabel does not have much time to advise the crowd to run away before Titus returns. Unfortunately, in the eyes of the crowd, this scene looks no different from a crazy girl trying to steal Mayor Jerry's phone, and seeing that the phone has been thrown high up into a tree, Titus turns a cartoon into a horror movie. The real Mayor Jerry tries to stop him but immediately receives a slap and returns to his human body, while Mabel has to struggle with Titus up in the tree. During the struggle, Titus's silicone mask is pulled off by Mabel, and seeing his metal face startles Mabel, causing her to fall straight to the ground. Titus manages to retrieve the phone, but things do not go as planned, because without Face ID the phone cannot be unlocked. Titus is enraged and declares that he will wipe out all humans, mammals, birds, and amphibians, meaning in short that only insects will rule over everything. However, his plan has to stop right here because he causes the stage to explode. Meanwhile, King George just sees the sea of fire and rushes outside to rescue Mabel. He stands up to call on the other kings to join forces to protect the forest, and the kings of other species who were so aggressive just a moment ago also turn to support him. Titus is screaming and then gets eaten by the amphibian king. On the other hand, humans are running for their lives with their legs trembling, while Mabel's translation headset is trampled to pieces among the crowd. Even so, she still manages to lead everyone to a safe place and escape the sea of fire. While trying to put out the fire, the coat left for Mabel by her grandmother catches fire, and she is grieving when George suddenly appears to pull her away from here. But she does not want to leave yet without getting her coat back, and as a result King George gets crushed right by a tree trunk. Having no translation headset leaves both of them only able to look at each other, but luckily Ellen appears in time to rescue both of them out of the blaze. the sea of fire grows larger and spreads throughout the forest, and it can even swallow the entire city since it is just a matter of time. Seeing the Beaver Dam gives Mabel an idea, and she looks toward King George to receive his nod, as the two of them seem to understand each other. They just need to destroy the Beaver Dam so the huge amount of water will be enough to extinguish everything. And then all the animals follow King George's command to simultaneously destroy the exact structure they have worked so hard to build. The big animals break it in their own big way, while the small animals break it in their small way, and in just a short moment all species share a single common goal. The dam is too solid so it does not fall down despite being hit continuously, and just when the animals think they have no chance left, the king of other species appears, the shark's bite finishes everything off, and finally the dam breaks. A huge stream of water immediately flows down and extinguishes the sea of fire right away where the naked eye can see it. Seeing the logs floating before his eyes makes Mayor Jerry realize that he has acted wrongly all this long time. After the fire, the forest only leaves behind ruins, and Mabel and King George are wandering around dazed to look at things when they accidentally notice Mayor Jerry. At first both of them think their battle is still not over, but Mayor Jerry surprises them because this time he does not bring a bulldozer, but instead brings tools to repair everything. Mayor Jerry wants this place to look as if no one has ever set foot here, and the Beaver colony also quietly returns to rebuild their home. While clearing away the noise-emitting speakers, Mabel asks Jerry what he will do with the highway, and upon hearing this he just smiles and says that humans will live here and animals will live here too. So let us work together to make this place better. After that, Mabel also graduates from university. She quickly goes to find Dr. Sam to celebrate, only to learn that the Hoppers project has been canceled. But Dr. Sam and the two assistants are not discouraged at all. She says that when one door closes, countless other doors will open, and she still has a dozen other crazy ideas. This time Mabel expresses her wish to work with her and apologizes for what she did to the Hoppers project. And upon hearing this, Dr. Sam just smiles and says that machines can be remade. But a person who has both passion and dares to do the right thing is much harder to find. The Hoppers project has closed, so Mabel and King George can no longer chat with each other. But perhaps after everything, true understanding never comes solely from language, because it comes from knowing how to listen and how to respect each other's worlds. This time Pixar chooses beavers as the key species not by coincidence. In the eyes of many people they are destructive creatures, but to nature beavers are true architects who contribute to creating an entire ecosystem. Perhaps the film wants to convey that instead of finding ways to eliminate nature, humans should learn how to coexist with it.